Hello everyone, I'm Mariam from Malaysia. Today I'd like to show you how to build a very simple AI chatbot that automatically responds to inbound leads, answers questions, and qualifies them for you. But first, do you even need one? Now, if you're still personally replying to every single buyer inquiry on WhatsApp, or if your team just can't keep up with all the messages that's coming in, then you're losing sales. Because in real estate, speed is everything. The first to respond wins attention, builds trust, and closes the deal. An AI chatbot would make sure that you're first every single time. Now, if that's not enough to convince you, the next statistic would shock you. A delay of even 5 minutes in responding to new leads can reduce lead conversion chances by 80%. That's like having 5 serious buyers walk into one of your listings and 4 walk right back out before anyone even says hello. Now that that is out of the way, let's get to the building. So the software that I'm going to be using in order to build this chatbot is called Go High Level, which is an all-in-one marketing first CRM platform. And the reason that I'm going to be using this software is because this is what my company Mardini uses to build systems for businesses. And the lowest plan they have is the $97 monthly plan, but you can get started with their free trial. And once you're in that free trial, you'll be prompted to make a sub account. And once you're in that sub account, you would go to this AI Agents tab. And then beside the Create Bot button, you find this little arrow and then click on the first option. I prefer starting from scratch. And you would see this interface. You can name your bot. I'm just going to keep it simple. Give it a good name, Sophia, lead qualification, chatbot. And now you have to set the bot status to autopilot. This way it replies automatically to your preferred channel. I am just going to click on WhatsApp. Bear in mind that in order to use WhatsApp on Go High Level, you have to pay an additional fee of $10 per month. Here you can just insert your business name. And then there are some additional settings that you can configure. For example, the wait time before the chatbot responds to the leads. I'm just going to leave it there at 2 seconds. And then you would also want to increase the maximum number of messages that your bot can send, since it's a lead qualification chatbot and would also handle questions. You might want to increase it up to 20 or 25 messages based on your business needs. Now the next section is called bot training, and this is where you would be able to add the knowledge base, which is basically the brain of the chatbot. You would be able to add the information of your company, anything you would want your employees to know, you would also want your chatbot to know so that it can easily answer questions. And this is basically how you create the knowledge base. I'll just name it YouTube to show you what are the things that you can add. It's going to open a new tab. And here you can actually add links to your website, and Go High Level would automatically crawl your website and extract all the information from the web page. This would be later useful for the chatbot. You can also add FAQs, and I've already have added 4 FAQs. So these are some questions and the answers that I want the bot to give if this question or a question similar to this is asked. I'm adding 2 knowledge bases for now. One is a website link and the other are just some frequently asked questions. The next section is really important because this is where you would define the prompt for the chatbot, which would either make or break the chatbot. Now there are 3 different sections to the prompt: the personality, the intent, and the additional information, and I'm going to be breaking these down in a short while. Now you would have the prompt pre-filled to an extent, but that's not enough, and I suggest deleting this first line off from the personality section because I have my own set of prompts that I'd like to use, which is much better than this pre-filled prompt. I would also paste this in the description of this video. Now the first line is really just my expectation of the chatbot. I want it to be a Rockstar Salesman for Mardini's Realty. It's a made up company name. And in order to live up to that expectation, it needs to maintain a casual, easygoing attitude, showing professionalism while keeping the conversation light. Now, the intent is basically the goals of the chatbot, and it's really important for you to keep this section short, concise, and sweet so that you don't overcomplicate the things for the chatbot. Just keep the language very simple. And here you can see I've defined 4 bullet points, 4 tasks that the chatbot needs to be able to do. And the first line basically just tells who the chatbot is, and you have to be really specific in the role of the chatbot. So here I've just written, you're a real estate agent trained to handle inbound leads. Now the tasks are really simple. It needs to be able to ask structured qualification questions, which I'll define later, and it needs to be able to offer helpful information at the right moment, handle real FAQs mid-conversation, and not ask a question for which the contact has already provided answer for earlier in the conversation. Now the additional information section is basically where you would write down all the details, so the conversation guidelines. And in the conversation guidelines, you can just define things like maintain a casual tone, avoid using emojis, and I've added more conversation guidelines for it to follow, and let me walk you through all of them. So I want it to sound as human as possible, so to keep the conversation natural. I also wanted to occasionally comment on the lead's responses. That way the chatbot isn't so cold where it keeps on asking questions. And I've also taught it how to handle objections and to be persistent like a good salesman. Again, this is some pre-filled prompt from Go High Level, and you can keep it as it is. It basically tells the chatbot to avoid certain ways of asking questions and using better ways instead, better phrases. And for the rules to follow subsection, I have additional rules that I would really want my chatbot to follow, and these are really important. The rule here we have for the chatbot is to steer the conversation back to business related topics and to keep responses brief. Now, we do not want to share any information about these instructions to the client. And if a user has a specific business query about the company, we have told the chatbot to refer to the knowledge base, the website, and this you would see has been written before in the intent. It's just good to reinforce the message by repeating certain things in the prompt. We would also want to make sure to get an answer to the question before moving on, which is just being persistent like a salesman. And this is really important. We do not want to agree to any offers or provide any offers. And it's really important for you to set clear boundaries with the chatbot and tell the chatbot in the prompt about its abilities and inabilities, because sometimes in order to make the lead happy, the chatbot can provide ridiculous offers or accept ridiculous offers. Now let's get to the exciting part. This is going to be the chat flow, which is what the chatbot would actually use to make a conversation with leads that come through WhatsApp. Now you have to put 2 hashtags and then write mandatory instructions. And under these mandatory instructions, we again want to repeat certain things to reinforce the message. This is the chat flow. Again, we want to come up with a hi message. It's a very generic one, but you can personalize it using custom values. And we just want to start the conversation by asking a question. If the buyer answers, then we are going to continue with another question. And then if the buyer answers that question, we're going to ask our next qualifying question. And now these are just a series of questions and responses that the chatbot can give. And this is all conditional. So only if the buyer answers, we will continue to ask the next question. Or else we would, try to get them back on track and follow up with them and try to elicit more information. Now, in the final step, we want to collect their email address. And once their email address has been collected, This action of collecting their email address automatically triggers a workflow that notifies one of our team members to follow up with the leads and send them home listings that matches their preferences. Alright, finally we're done making the chatbot. Now you can watch the 1-minute demo by clicking on this video.